Hello, Megan.
Hello, Michelle.
Welcome to the Spicy Brain podcast, where we are navigating neurodiversity with curiosity, joy, and
Radical acceptance. I kick.
So welcome if you're new to the podcast. We're so happy to see you, hear you. What are we happy? No, I guess we're just happy that you're here.
We're happy to have you here listening.
Yeah, like I'm seeing you, Megan, so that I'm thinking I'm seeing them, but I'm not because you're just listening to me because this is a podcast.
That's right.
Hello, whatever, I'm with it. And then those of you guys who are returning, we are so happy to have you back. We love our OGs and just so much great community. Our new Gs and our OGs, everybody. It's amazing to like have this whole community around us and get to hear feedback from people. So we love to dissect books. That's usually what we do. So we're on a book called The Essential Guide to Raising Complex Kids. And Elaine Taylor Clouse wrote this book. We have been in this book for a while, and we kind of think we'll get through a chapter, an episode, and that just seriously has never happened. So we just take little chunks at a time. We learn, we kind of reflect back sometimes on things. We usually dig into my brain or Rosie's brain. I call her Rosie, I call her Meg, I call her Megan, Mego, there's a lot of different names. And we really kind of dissect our own brains and understanding how these things manage themselves or not in our brains and figure out sometimes strategies. Yeah.
I have a theory about why it takes us so long to get through a chapter.
Okay.
And my theory is that these books, like if I were to read one, it would not fix me because like there's just like what they're saying is true. It's just so dense. And it's like,
yes,
each sentence could be a podcast. And that's because like you have to go down the rabbit hole because that's like it's not gonna fix itself overnight.
Absolutely. And the whole idea of strategies, we always say we want to have strategies, but the reality is that, well, first of all, we're not professionals, right? Like we're just experts.
We're just experts.
No, we're not experts.
We're just sisters.
Just sisters, my friend. That's totally true. But we've learned a lot, and I think we've become, to learn a bit more about our own brains, and I think about each other and our relationship because of it, which has been great. This particular chapter is talking all about sort of executive functioning again. And so I wanted to kind of bring that up. And so she says EF for short. But just to kind of remind
functioning.
Yeah,
EF?
Executive. She's like EF. Okay. I'm like, okay, that's great. We'll do that. But
Michelle,
she wants to kind of go through the brain science again. And I was like, okay, that's not bad because it's good to refresh on it.
Mm-hmm. It's true. It is very good to refresh on it. And I realize that like one of the biggest strategies that we have found is just talking about it.
Yeah.
Like that is the greatest strategy of all is that like we just like, I mean, I spent so many years, so many decades just like trying to avoid it and shove it away. And like the more I talk about it with people, the more I get more comfortable with it and the better I get. And so I think like, we have like in a weird way, we have found the greatest strategy is just to talk, which we're good at.
And to understand, for ourselves what, because I really didn't come into this thinking, oh, we're going to explore my brain. And I'm like, oh yeah, here we go. We all have something generally speaking to think about. And that concept of an owner's manual of your brain is a little bit where she's going with this chapter. And I really do, I prescribe to that line of thinking. I think when we understand how our brains work, at least in some sort of, maybe not neuroscience down to the, exact chemicals, but I think understanding how our brains work can really help. She talks about in this one that the brain, just to remind us, like sends messages through chemical reactions. So these are these neurotransmitters, and they help us really to figure out what we're thinking, feeling, or acting. So when they're released, they like help to make that communication between our brains and our bodies, our brains and our feelings, all of that together is happening inside of our brains. And there's really sort of the issue with people who have complex issues. And she specifically stated ADHD, anxiety, depression, or some other executive functioning challenge, that the level of neurotransmitters are lower. Like you just have less. So you have less dopamine, less serotonin, less norepinephrine. Like I'm saying that wrong.
Norepinephrine.
Norepinephrine. Yes, thanks. I like all of a sudden I was like looking at what I wrote, and my dyslexia just like flipped everything, and I was like, yeah, I was like, and then I was like, Nora Ephron. That's not it's not Nora. You got to laugh, or you would just cry all day long.
It's true.
So I like the way she says this, and I thought we could kind of ponder on this a little bit. She says that people that are going through this don't always have the brain chemistry, so the chemicals in the brain necessary to make something happen. Because this whole chapter was about like getting it done.
Yeah.
And that you just don't have that get it done button that you can push in your head. And you don't have the chemicals necessary in your brain to be able to make something happen without external forces stepping in. So this is interesting to me, because then it really isn't your fault, right?
Yeah.
Your brain just doesn't produce the things that maybe my brain does produce.
Right.
Or as much of them. And so when I think about that as a parent, because this is all about raising, complex kids, I think about, again, we talked, I think, a little bit in the last one about sort of the disability mindset, and we didn't like that, but differently abled. Maybe was a better way of thinking of it. But this idea that there is a difference chemically in your brain versus my brain. And that would be true of everybody's brain, right? Not everyone's acts exactly the same way. So this idea of executive functioning is something, she says, like we hear a lot about, but a lot of people don't know what it means. And she really goes into a very basic kind of idea of the primitive brain versus the frontal cortex. So the primitive brain being the thing that's sort of at the base of your neck and at the back of your neck, bottom of your head, that just is like keeping you alive. So it's the thing that's going to get you to run from the lion. You might freeze, you might fight, and that's the adrenaline. And so those are those like stress hormones that get you moving. And so people who have executive functioning issues tend to have the prefrontal cortex doesn't have as much firing to them. Like all these neurotransmitters aren't firing as strongly or as potently. And so she called it like a sluggish prefrontal cortex, right? Which you talk about the sluggishness, the feeling of that a lot. But that is the thing that you might rely on your primal or primitive brain to get things done, because you're relying on the stress hormones and the adrenaline to get you moving, which can have, of course, we've talked about before, a whole lot of implications in terms of health.
Yeah.
Right. So just to kind of, her idea of this was that the prefrontal cortex is instead of the butler, she said like the conductor of the orchestra. Okay. And she was like, well, all the musicians in the orchestra are like organizing. Like that's one of the instruments, and another instrument is managing time, and another instrument is how you think, how you feel, your impulsivity, what you will do or won't do. And that if any one of these players is out of tune, she says, the brain function will be discordant. And I thought that was interesting, like discord, like it will be out of tune.
Oh, okay.
It'll be off, that feel
like discordant.
It's like going to an elementary school band night.
Oh, yeah.
Like every single one of those little sweethearts is in their own tune.
So sweet.
And together it just makes,
a discordant cacophony.
A discordant cacophony of sound.
That we just love and cherish.
Yeah. And so she's saying like many complex kids have a developmental delay in this part of the brain because of what they're going through. And so like there's not as much of this happening in the time frame that you think it's going to happen. And I don't know how you feel about that when I say it that way, but that's how she said it. But this idea that your executive functioning, because of the chemicals or lack thereof is just true. Like, it's just not going to be able to necessarily do all of these things in this way.
Like my executive functioning right now struggles to like hear all these words and process them and understand like how to then take my thoughts and bring them out of my mouth hole.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like it's like as soon as it's so interesting. As soon as like there is any kind of like, scientific language or like, higher level language, like my brain just like shuts down and it's like, I like, it can't figure it out.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting. I'm trying to be curious of my brain. I was beating myself up a minute ago, and I'm like, okay, I'm trying to be curious instead, because like it's really challenging for me to like listen. It's really, really hard.
Yeah.
And I'm like trying to remember like what it was we just talked about. Like you were just talking and you had beautiful things that you were saying. And I was like, yeah. But like, what were we just talking about?
Yeah. I mean, so
this is the problem.
Interesting. Yeah, it's the problem for sure. And it's interesting because, again, your prefrontal cortex, like the front of your head, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like doesn't have enough of the chemicals to like get you to attend unless you're very interested.
Yeah.
And even if you're very interested, sometimes not. So like,
oh yeah,
she goes later on the thing to say there's these sort of 6 areas where executive functioning can be an issue. And one of them's attention management. Mm-hmm. Which is focusing, sustaining, or shifting attention.
Check.
So you like get bored easily. You require, genuine interest to sustain focus.
You're the novelty, like we started pre-gaming, and so like the novelty wore off because I'm like, okay, now I know what you're saying, and I'm like, it's fine. I'll just come back to it in a oh no. Okay, well, I can tell you what my brain just did. How about I do that?
Yeah.
How about I just verbalize what happened while you were chatting?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if I want to know because I might just be sad, but yes, go ahead.
I'm sorry. No, this is nothing against you, Michelle. This is like what happens to my brain because like I don't have the butler reminding me like, hey, this is what happens like in school, in work, like everywhere I have to listen to people. This is what happens. Like I'm really intent on listening, and I'm like, I'm here, and then I'm aware of what my body feels like. And so for like a good portion of it, I was like, oh, my hair is rubbing up against my neck. And then I'm like trying to fix that. Okay, so I finally fixed that, but then it's like, oh shoot, I need to, like, I hear a dog outside. Okay, well, let me text Brian and tell him that there's a puppy crying outside the door. Okay, oh, shoot, but you know what? He's going to message me back, and I haven't turned off my Do Not Disturb. Okay, turn off Do Not Disturb. No, put it on. And then I started panicking about something else that was going on. I can't even remember. I've forgotten all the things that have happened in my brain. And then I was like, oh, shoot, Megan, go back and listen to what Michelle is saying. Focus. I'm like, okay, well, go back and look at the picture that Michelle gave you. Where is it? I can't find it. I don't know. And then I start panicking. And then I'm like, and then she's like asking me, I'm like, she's about to ask me a question. I can feel she's about to ask me a question. Oh, what am I going to say? I don't know.
Well, I just kept going because I could tell you were somewhere else. I was waiting for you to come back.
I know. Well, the thing is, like, I also just like want to interrupt all the time, and then I'm like trying not to interrupt, but I can't. But the thing is, like, what I realize, like, if I don't interrupt in the moment that I have the thought, then like it's is gone forever.
Yeah, so why?
And everyone's always like, well, because like you don't like it when I interrupt, and so I like try to not interrupt
it when people interrupt, but you do it all the time. I'm used to it.
That's true. I
don't know why today all of a sudden is different.
No, I've been trying recently. I've been trying to not interrupt because I've been like trying to get better at like being an adult with ADHD, and it's really fucking hard.
I'm sorry.
Little Rosie's trying.
I didn't know you were trying to do that.
Like that's why I was like raising my hand earlier. I was like, I have a thought. Can I just raise my hand? Because like I hate like that I do interrupt you. Like it's not
Uh-huh.
fair, but then it's also kind of fun. But it's also not fair. It's fun for the podcast, I think, but it's stressful. I know.
I don't really know. It's just my entire existence with you. It's not new. So maybe it's new to you that you're
It's
like recognizing you're interrupting now. Maybe
yeah.
that's
No,
like
I
your
am.
growth as you realize you are.
Yeah. I'm
Okay.
trying to not interrupt, but then it's like,
Yeah.
but then what I will notice is that like I'm in me not trying to interrupt, then I become like boring because I'm like
Yeah.
can't remember the next thing I'm trying to say, or like I have a thought and then I don't want to like interrupt in the middle of it all. Like it's a catch 22.
It is. Yeah. Well, I think part of it is, you know, sometimes it's like trying to get the information to everyone else.
Yeah.
Like, so I'm trying to just sort of give a quick little synopsis so that I
Mm-hmm.
can make sure that
We're all on the
maybe
same
somebody
page.
who's listening might actually get something out of this other than us just being hilariously fun.
Mm.
But that's the educator in me. But of course, that's probably boring them too. So you know what I mean? Like, honestly, I don't know
I
why
don't
I keep
know.
trying to do that.
No, I think it's important. No, see, this is why, Michelle. This
What?
is because, like, I know you're going to beat yourself up because, like, you're not actually boring. You're very interesting, and I do enjoy the knowledge. It's just like
Uh-huh.
normally I'm listening to knowledge and I don't have to respond to it. I just listen and I take it in, and that's why like I have to. But it's like here I have to like respond, and I'm like, wait, what was
Yeah.
it I was gonna say? Because like you're
Yeah.
just so brilliant.
Okay, well,
And I don't feel that brilliant.
let's be clear though, I'm just repeating what I read. So I'm not, this isn't like my knowledge, but I'm happy to like share it for sure. And I do want to say this though, because I think this is important, which is that I did not realize this, and this was interesting to me anyway, that there was a woman, Cheryl Pruitt, she quotes that did Taming the Tiger was the book, but that
Hmm.
there's over 100 childhood conditions that
Mm.
where the executive functioning situation manifests itself. So it's not just ADHD, it's anxiety, autism, Tourette's, celiacs, Addison's, allergies. She talks about learning disabilities, all of these things, executive functioning, including like stress related disorders like attachment disorder, trauma, PTSD. So like when she talks about complex kids, she's talking about people who have executive functioning stuff going on, and it could be in all of these different conditions, right? And you might have more than one. You could have multiple.
So when she's talking about this executive functioning
Yeah.
issues, is she saying that like if you can have anxiety but not have ADHD and there's still executive functioning problems?
Yes.
Ah. And this is why like my therapist, so I had a psychiatrist when I was doing the prolonged exposure therapy, and he said I had to get off Adderall while I was doing the therapy because he's like, I'm not sure if you're ADHD or if you're just traumatized.
Right.
That's probably what he meant.
Right.
Is that like
Yeah.
your executive functioning issues could be due to trauma. And so
Right.
he didn't want me to have to take stimulants because that would alter like potentially like we had to figure out like we had to get through the problems first. And then it was like I think a year and a half or 2 years after I had like gone through all of this and like I actually got a certificate. I asked him, I'm like, can I have a certificate? And he's like, yeah. He'd never given one
Yeah.
before. And I'm like, please give me one. I have one. It's really funny. But like after that, I we went to my doc and I was like, okay, it's been 2 years. I think I do actually have ADHD.
Yeah.
I've been through the
Yeah.
trauma stuff. I think it's just real. Can I have my
Yeah.
medicine back, please?
Yeah. And it's still like, it's still real, even if, right. But like, I guess the stimulants wouldn't work for somebody who wasn't ADHD, maybe. Right. It's like why
Maybe,
the
yeah.
executive functioning happening and how it fixes it. I don't know that answer. That would be interesting to
Mm,
ask somebody. She says though, for complex kids, whether it's trauma related or it's ADHD or whatever, any of these, that it's not whether you need to activate the brain, it's how. So you need something external to help you activate your brain is just a given.
panic.
The
Pure
question is
panic.
how. Huh?
Pure panic. Pure panic.
Right. And that's
how I
one
do it.
way. That's one way.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just not great for your health.
It's
Right.
true. It's
Because
not.
high cortisol levels is what ends up happening. And like, if you hear everyone's talking about nowadays, like, I have high cortisol, I don't know if maybe it's just women my age, but it's, yeah. So using that technique, while very effective, generally speaking, can be hard on you.
It's never been effective for me.
But it's what you use.
I mean, it is. Well, I don't think I'm meaning to use it, for sure. But like, it's panic and like beating myself up. I think beating myself up more than anything has probably helped me. That's like probably helped me the most. Like the panic is just like, I feel like so bad. So like the panic helps me lead to beating myself up.
Say more.
Well, I like, realize that I'm messing up. I realize that I'm not, I'm not doing what I should be doing. And so then I get panicked, and then that then leads me to like negative self-talk and like, oh, Megan, you're so stupid. Just like all the nasty things I say to myself.
And that helps you get things done because,
I mean, does it help me get things done? I think in the past it did, because it was like, you better get this done, otherwise you're not worthy of anything. Like, I think it was like it was the thing that got me through the war, right? It was like the Kevlar that got me through the war as a kid and as a young adult. And then I came back from the war and it stopped serving me. So like now it doesn't help me. Like now it's like makes it that much harder. So it's like having to peel off the Kevlar and figure out like, how do you go about your day not doing that? And that's the challenging part.
Not being mean to yourself now.
Yeah. Cause it's like, it's just ingrained, it's like, it's just ingrained that like, I'm going to be mean to myself and say terrible things to myself, and no one's going to know I'm doing it. Right. Like that's the difference, is like some people, like I've seen, like they're mean to themselves. And, like you can see it all over them. Like you will not see it on my face. I will hide that. It's my little secret. No one has to know. It is fully internalized.
You mask it.
Which is probably why my body started spasming, because it was like, I'm just, have all this stuff that's just like really mean inside of me, and it has to get out somehow. And it comes out through my muscles.
It's so interesting because for you, I remember going to all these doctors all the time, and they were like, basically kind of like, it's just in your head. And I think that's the meanest thing in a way. Mean's the wrong word, but just maddening, because so what? So then what? Right? Like that's always my question. So, okay, so it's in your head. So then how do you fix it? Because it's happening physically. It's occurring. The physical manifestation of it is occurring. So what do you do? And in her book, she talks about like using this combination of exercise, nutrition, sleep, meditation, maybe different motivational techniques, medication, and coaching. And it was interesting because she said, understanding your executive functioning and consciously engaging, like having your kids engage with their prefrontal cortex, understand their brain, basically, right? Can help with self-regulation. Like it doesn't fix it. And there's definitely like the concept of, understanding that they're going to be 3 or 4 years behind maybe what would be quote unquote expected, but that they will continue to grow. Their prefrontal cortex will continue to develop. This isn't like you're going to be the same at 12 as you are at 47, right?
Yeah.
Like those things, you're going to grow and you're going to gain more capability. But I think her point is that you need to understand what works for you and what doesn't work for you. And you need to be really honest about it, what's happening with your brain, in order to be able to self-regulate better.
Yeah. And that's it's an interesting question, because like, Brian and I were just talking this morning. For those of you who are new, Brian's my spouse. He's also got ADHD, and he said I can talk about him. He gave me permission.
Yes.
You had messaged me this morning, Michelle, because I'm going to come and visit you next week for my nephew's graduation.
So exciting. We can't wait to have you.
I know, it's going to be great. Although it's going to be hot, but I've already got a plan. I worked it out. I have a plan for what I'm going to do.
And I got you a hotel where you can keep the air conditioning exactly whatever level you want.
I'll bring a sweater for Brian. So you had messaged me and said, okay, what kind of snacks do you want in the hotel? And I was like, okay. So I looked to Brian, I'm like, hey, so what kind of snacks do we want? He's like, why is it that whenever someone asks me this question, like I just can't answer it? And I was like, I totally know what you mean. I'm like, this is the hardest question for me to answer. And I think it has to do with the executive functioning. I think it's like the butler is basically saying, hey, Megan, you like this and you like that. And don't forget, you want, it's like I have this like sticky somewhere that's just like has bad adhesive in my brain. And it's hard to like, it's hard to remember. And I wonder if this is part of it. And I like, it like we kind of finally like talked it out. I was like, yeah, okay. So we both didn't judge each other on it. I was like, well, I do know that we like sodas. So like, okay, I have these 2 sodas down. And I'm like, do we want something crunchy or do we want, well, how about protein, Megan? I'm like, oh yeah, the protein shakes. He's like, yeah, get the protein shake. Okay. And then we're like kind of walking through. And then, he's like, well, I know you don't like Chex Mix, Megan. And I'm like, but you do, right? And he's like, I do. And I'm like, perfect. I'll put that on there, and it's like, but like also I think it's part of, as a person with ADHD, being told that I'm messing up all the time, I recognize this part of me that I want to appease others. And so I don't always know what I like because I'm constantly trying to appease others and deny myself in order to fit in. And then I don't even know I told you this back in the days. I'm like, I don't even know how I like my eggs. Like, I don't like eggs scrambled. I really don't. It's like a very specific way. Maybe I could do it scrambled, but the majority of the eggs, I like them over easy. I like them gooey all over my potatoes. That's how I like eggs. But like, I couldn't have said that to you 10 years ago, when I was starting to
it's interesting. Like when you
all.
have the concept too of like your own self, like who your own self is. So knowing your brain, but also knowing, how your brain works also then adds to this concept of like, who are you? And I agree completely. I think it's interesting when she talks about like executive functioning. It's the idea that your brain tells you how to feel about something, or if you want to do something, or if you like something, probably, right? How you feel about it, how you like it. So your brain actually may struggle with that exact thing.
Well, because like if what I like is it actually feels good when I interrupt somebody. I know this is crazy to think about, but like my brain does release dopamine when I interrupt. And so if I am, well, at least I assume it's what it's doing. It just feels good. I don't know. I'm not a neuroscientist. Okay.
Sure.
But
we'll say that.
Yes. But I mean, I'm curious that like, if I am told that like, hey, interrupting's bad and I like this, then it's like, okay, well then what else do I like that must be bad? And it's like a very young place to come at it. Like it's obviously a very, immature, young little Rosie kind of 5-year-old sort of brain coming after it. But I think that's like what ends up happening. You're like, oh, I shouldn't like it,
Yeah. And it's interesting too, because then that kind of, to me, would connect to identity. Like I like interrupting. Interrupting's bad, therefore I'm bad.
I am bad.
Could
yeah,
be
it's
like
that
really quick. It could be a quick little journey there, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, and because
interrupting at school is
bad.
So bad, right? I mean, you just get in trouble all the time.
Oh, and I did all the time. But like, I also knew like I couldn't. Like when I think about like just like listening to anybody, it's like if I can't interrupt and ask the follow-up question, then like my brain goes down this rabbit hole. And sometimes answering the question or having the question like out of my mouth lets that like persistent sticky, like it's like the sticky gets like strong adhesive. Like it is just there, and it is like covering up all of my eyes, and I can't. It's like a giant sticky. That's like covering the entire board.
And you can't hear anything else or see anything else until it gets dealt with.
Yeah. Until it gets dealt with. And then if I get it dealt with, then I can move on.
Well, could we just make a rule that it's like okay for you to interrupt? Because you might hear me being slightly awkward or like trying to figure out how to navigate, but like it doesn't actually cause me any anxiety or stress.
Okay.
It's just like sometimes I'm not smooth about it, right? Because I'm not ready for it, but it's like that doesn't bother me.
Okay.
I don't
That's
know.
good to
I
know.
mean, I'm not saying it will never bother me, but I'm just saying it just in general doesn't. And then you're like, I can see your whole face and your whole like emotional state, you know, because one of the things they talk about is like emotional regulation and emotional energy and effort management. And then there's like an emotional management component, but that like your emotions actually get zapped or your energy gets zapped or something when that happens. Like I can see it when your face and you stop like connecting.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Like from my
really
point of view, that's much worse than you interrupting me. I
really do need to like put these videos on YouTube so that people can see like what happens to my face like when I'm in that. Because I'm just like, you know, I'm not trying to.
I can see him losing you though. Like, I mean, that's how it feels. I'm like, there she goes. Like, I don't know. You know, it feels.
You could also
like
just
Big
be like,
Hero
and I've
6.
lost Mago. You know, like you could totally say that. I'm fine.
I do say that sometimes if anyone's
You're like,
listened. Who's it that's listened to all of them? One of your friends is like,
oh, Matt.
Matt's like,
Matt
listen to
in
all.
New
So Matt
Jersey.
knows. I've said, and we've lost Megan.
We've lost Megan. I know.
We've lost Rosie.
We've lost Megan.
Gone.
I was just watching Shrinking, Michelle, and they were talking about like, you know, when someone is having an issue and like they do, he's like, I'm just gonna do a bear clap. It's like, I'm just gonna bear clap and get them back into. I'm like, I just need a bear clap. Megan, what? Oh, yeah, okay, hey, I'm back.
Okay, come on. That's so funny. So, okay, so I want to know from the first area, like she talks about these 6 areas, but like task management, you said like, oh, nothing works, right? And this is this idea. Okay, I'm going to give you a list, but you can interrupt anytime, okay?
Okay.
So it looks like when you have trouble with task management activation, says it looks like you have difficulty getting started.
Yes.
You might procrastinate.
Yes.
You know what needs to be done, but you're unable to get it done.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, you have difficulty prioritizing sequencing things.
Yes.
Okay. Fails in time management. She just said that like flat out. I was like, wow, it wasn't even like she usually sugarcoats stuff. It was like fails in time
failure.
F.
Big giant failure.
Does things last minute.
Yes.
And this part was really kind of nice. She goes, to the untrained eye appears lazy. And I was like, that's nice. I like that because it's not laziness. But I was curious, like, you know, you're now in your 40s, right?
Yeah.
And you still struggle with these things. So it means
I know.
The brain is not, it's evolved, but it's always going to be something that you're going to have to manage, right?
Yeah. And this is something, Michelle, that you're reminding me, like I was just talking to the people on Twitch, which I'll link in the show notes, our Twitch information if you ever want to join us.
Yeah, that's so fun. That's like a fun little community that we all get to chitter chat about things. Yes. I met a few people the other night. It was great.
You did. You got to meet Malik and Matt and I think Chief. Yeah. Chief. Some awesome people. But what I think is interesting. Witty. Yes. That's right. You got to meet Witty. She's a doll face. Love her. I want to be friends with her in real life. I'm like, can we like swap phone numbers? I'm like, can I personally ask you to be my? I'm like,
are you like asking her out right now on the podcast? You're like,
hey, Witty. Hi, I'm gonna clip this. Hi, Witty. Would you like to be my friend in real life? Because that would be amazing. You want to be friends? It's so crazy. Like you have to. It feels like you're dating again when you're like in your 40s and trying to find friends. It just feels like that.
Oh yeah, yeah. I had a good friend who I was like, are we like becoming like best friends? And she was like, I think we are. And I'm like,
Michelle,
what is happening? I know, it's so funny. And it's cute, right? Because it's
I know who this person is? I mean, obviously I do, but like,
yeah.
Okay. I think I might know.
Yeah.
Okay. How cute. Okay. We'll talk about it later.
Yeah. Like just sweet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, it's super sweet. It's like,
yeah,
do you want to be my best friend? Check yes or no.
Check this box.
Check this box. But like we were talking on Twitch about like how I've been like struggling mentally about the fact that like I am 44 and like all of these children on there, like I literally could be their mom. Like they have parents who are 44, 45. And I'm like,
and I'm like their
oh,
grandmom, so it's great. Yeah.
I know. It's crazy. And I'm just like, so I've been struggling with it. And I finally just realized like, no, I am going to be unapologetically 44 because
Yeah.
I was told at a very young age that I would grow out of being ADHD. And I want people to know that like you can be 44, you can still be ADHD, you can still struggle, and yet it's still somehow better than it was 20 years ago. So that's my new thing. I've decided to
and you can still be fabulous.
I can still be funky fabulosity, funky fresh fabulosity. That was my phrase in PHP. I'm funky fresh fabulosity.
I love that.
That's what I am.
I guess like one of the things that is interesting to me with you is that you figure out things that work for you and then you promptly forget them. You do. I mean, this is the actual issue with the executive functioning because you can figure out something that like works and then not have the ability to encode it into long-term memory.
Yeah.
Or pull it up. And so I'm curious about that because I think when you do something again and again, like you do things for your dogs again and again, you remember it, right? You do it every day, but they kind of also are this external reminder because they're at the door whining or, you know, they're reminding you to do it, right? And
that's why I do it every day. It's because they remind me. They're like,
right.
Like if they didn't remind me, I'd be nervous to have animals in my home.
And so this is like, why I always think
this is like why I can't
wealthy
plant,
people
Michelle.
who have all the resources don't seem to have ADHD because they can just have a personal assistant. Like why would anyone need a personal assistant? Because they're ADHD. So like every actor is just ADHD. That's
probably on some level. Probably on some level, yeah.
I don't know. But you know what I mean? It's like,
I mean,
if you had a personal assistant, you'd be great.
This is the challenge that I find is that like, even if like, I don't know if anything is ever truly encoded into my long-term memory. Cause like, I just go, I know I bring this up a lot, but I go back to the brushing my teeth. That is something that I was taught from like as soon as I had teeth, it was like, we're going to learn how to brush them. Like I even had, do you guys remember like the little thing you put in your mouth that like would turn your tartar like blue or something? Like you crush it up and then you could see like what you're brushing. Like I remember that distinctly, memory right there. And so I have been doing it for 42-ish years probably. I don't know when the kids get teeth. Yeah. And I still struggle to this day some days to brush my teeth. And it's not, it's like, it's in there somewhere.
Yeah.
But like, I can't distinguish one day from the other. Like, I think that's the time management, the time blindness part is the part that's like, I can't remember, did I brush my teeth this morning or did I not? And here's the thing. Everyone will say, oh, well, you can try this or you can try that. Like you can get like a little checkbox. Like I'll forget to do the checkbox. Like I'll forget, you know, there's just no way around it. And like, what I've just kind of realized is that like, I'm going to probably forget sometimes and it's okay because I think like if I'm looking at trends, right, on the average, I wash my teeth most days.
Right.
Like, you know, maybe like once a month I might forget and that's okay. But like, you know, or I'll forget until a certain time. Like, and that's the thing is I will forget until like, you know, 2:00 in the afternoon and I'm like, oh yeah, I should probably brush my teeth. I forgot about that, you know? So there's like certain things, there's certain cues. But also like, I mean, the bite plate was such an interesting thing because like once I got the bite plate, it does sort of have this like reminder of something that's in my mouth that I don't necessarily want in my mouth, like when I'm, you know, out and about. And so I know that if my bite plate is still in my mouth, I most likely have not brushed my teeth. Like that's the one thing I can guarantee. And so there's a reason for this. There's a whole reason for all this. The reason being, going back, is that what I've noticed is that if I marry a new task with something that I already do on a regular basis, I'm more than likely to do it more consistently. So, for instance, physical therapy.
Yeah.
First of all, having an appointment with a person who you have to pay
is good.
Is like people said, oh, have an appointment with yourself. And I'm like, No,
No.
that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Like, I'm not, like, I want to have an appointment. I even having an appointment with Brian, like, we're not going to have an appointment together. There's no financial stake in it all.
There's no
There
consequence.
could be, maybe there could be like if I'm late to the appointment, then you get money that week. And if you're late, I get the money. Ooh, that could be an interesting thing. But then I'll probably forget.
That is
It's fine.
interesting. Yeah.
So but the thing is like, what was I saying?
You were saying that the consequence, like if there is one, that's good, but also
therapy.
Physical
Right.
therapy.
So like so it's been really helpful for me to move, and like I'm trying to figure out how to like, strengthen my legs and do all this stuff. And so she has this idea of like some things I can do. And so I thought, okay, well, what if I just like, I've been doing this like I think I was telling you about that one like movement that I do with like the like kind of like the clock. I make a little clock with my feet. And so what I started doing is like I started doing it outside with the dogs. Because I was like, okay, I'm trying to not be on my phone as much. So when I'm outside, I'm kind of bored. And so then I'm like, what could I do out here? And I was like, oh, I could practice those things. And so like my ankles have actually gotten a lot stronger because I'm already out there. And I'm like, hey, if I do it, at least I take them out 3 times a day. If I at least do it one of those times, I have done it one more time
than you would have
in that day than I would have.
Yeah.
And so when I talked to my therapist, my physical therapist about it, it's like, okay, once I kind of figure this out, like how do you build these like little routines? And I think the thing is like, she was saying something about, is it Malcolm Gladwell, or there was somebody about like the atomic habit that I don't remember who it was. The author for the Atomic Habit was saying like, hey, he had a person who wanted to get to go to the gym, and the guy's like, okay, well, can you just drive to the gym from after work? Just make that the habit first. So you drive and you drive and you drive. And then once that becomes the habit and you don't even think about having to go, then after that, walk in. Don't do any, just get out of your car and walk to the front door. You don't even have to walk in.
Yeah, they talk about like
door.
making really tiny little things that like it's like lower than, like if you're going to work out like 2 minutes just to, whatever you think the max is that you could do a lot less.
Right. And like that's the thing that like is so interesting to me is that like what I found with my ADHD is that like I want to, like once I have an idea of it, it's like let's just go full force, all hardcore. And it's like, can we just go for the walk? Like it's just it's so hard to figure out how to just like do it. But I think doing it consistently, like I have to do it every day. And even if it's just like, okay, we're just gonna put the harness on the dogs, which would be really mean actually, but like just take them out to like the little bush each day. It's like whatever it is, like there's just like it's like, how do you break these tasks out into like super small things and like also make it a win? Because it doesn't feel like a win. And you're like, there's no dopamine from doing it, and so you're like, so that's the hard part. But that's the part that I'm realizing, like, if I can tie it to something else that I already have to do, that already is giving me an external reminder, it's a lot easier. So like last night, we were going to go out, take the dogs out, and I decided to do I have like these little half lunges I have to do to help build up my knees. And I did it.
Good job.
And I was like proud of myself.
Yeah,
I did
pat yourself on the back. That's good. Yeah, and I think you said before, like when we were talking before, that this like lack of perfectionism, letting go of perfectionism, has been helpful in that because you're not trying to be perfect at it. You're trying to just get started. Yeah, and even if you don't get started every single day, but you do it more days than not, that's better. And that's really different than where you were, a few years ago with things.
Yeah, I'd really beat myself up, and I think that was the the like we talked about, like the back of my head, whatever the primal thing is,
the primitive brain.
Yeah, the primitive brain, like that was, beating myself up was the way that my primitive brain got me to do stuff. And so that's why I think I became a perfectionist. That's why I say I had OCD tendencies, because like I wasn't OCD, but like if you asked me all these, like you would think I had OCD. And because it was like I just had to be perfectionistic, otherwise it didn't feel like anything would get done. Whereas now it's like, okay, I'm at least a little bit more like I'm a little bit more connected with myself and a little bit more present than I used to be. And so now I can like see myself and say, yeah, I did that thing And I'm going to remind you guys, it is not easy. And I don't do this every day. There's many a days I have to call Michelle or I have to call mom or, I'm just like really down on myself. But I think when I look at like the trend,
you don't call. The worst is when you don't call when you're down on yourself, and that will happen too.
Yeah, but I think also like if I look at the trend, like I am trending upward, whereas like I have more good days now than I do have bad.
Yeah,
and
that's true.
The bad days just feel really, because I'm also present in the bad days, and the bad days just suck. And so like I'm starting to like just like this whole strategy of just talking through the bad days and having it be okay. Like I've even gone on Twitch a couple of times and been like, this is a really day and I don't know what I'm going to say or what I'm going to do, but I just wanted to be here with you guys and let you know that like if you're feeling like same, like there's some like
yeah,
and
same.
And then weirdly enough, like if I start talking to people, like I get out of it. But like it never occurred to me to do that before because like I wasn't allowed to just have a shit day.
Yeah.
And when we talk about the differently abled mind, like taking it from a differently abled perspective, helping your kid know that you're just going to have shit days. And it's, I mean, obviously you wouldn't say shit, you would use whatever age appropriate words you would want to use.
Tough days.
Yeah, but it's like you're having a tough day, and like I think our instinct is to want to fix it. And I am just as awful. Like Brian's having a rough day today, and I need to go and apologize to him because I'm always trying to fix it for him. And honestly, it's like I don't need to fix it. All I need to go and do is like just give him a big giant hug and say like I am so sorry. Today is such a hard day. Like this is what ADHD is. You're gonna have a hard day, and then you're gonna pick yourself up the next day and try it again. That's the answer. Like, I love you. And like, it's just going to be a hard day. I need to go do that like directly after this podcast. Can you help me remember, Michelle?
Yes, I will help you remember that for sure.
Thank you.
And I think, what you're talking about though, is that connection, that grace you're giving yourself and then therefore others, right? Because when we're hard on ourselves, then we're hard on others, I think is part of it. And like, I see that myself with parenting is like the more difficult my day is, or the more I'm beating myself up about something, I'm more likely to do that to my kid too. Right. And Josh has given me permission to talk about his ADHD, and our relationship together, which, is especially when things are changing or when there's a lot going on and he's about to go to college. So there's a lot happening right now. And it's important to remember that if we're not getting our basic needs met, like if everyone in the household isn't getting their nutrition, right? The right proper nutrition, the proper sleep, and physical activity, then it's really going to make everything that much harder. Right. And I was listening to a different podcast and I can't remember the gentleman's name. He was something about the 4-hour work week or something. I can't remember his name, but he was talking about this idea of, maybe if everything is so hard that maybe you're just not being fueled right. Like, have you gone to your doctor and checked to make sure you have proper vitamin D? Do you have the right, magnesium, the right selenium? Do you need Brazil nuts, whatever? Like, do you have these basic things, your basic nutrition, basic sleep, those kinds of things? And they're not basic in the sense of they're easy, but those are sort of base needs that you want to make sure your kid is getting enough protein, for example, and enough sleep. And these devices that you're talking about really cause time blindness even more. Yeah. And then you're not staying present with yourself. So you might not be realizing you haven't eaten. You might not realize that you haven't, used the restroom or had, so the combination of like the technology being an issue. So all of these things can factor in. And so the strategies, I think, first have to come from, did everybody get sleep? Did everybody get their food? And like reminding ourselves
Maslow's
of
hierarchy,
this.
Right?
Mm-hmm. And then I think one of the things we've figured out over time, and we are definitely not always consistent just due to schedules, but is these sort of 15-minute chunks to get things done that are really hard. So like we body mirror with each other, and we really do try to limit the amount of time though. And so we found like even smaller than a 25-minute, if it's something physical that you have to do, especially, or something really difficult, like emotionally difficult to do, we really try to limit how much exposure you have to it too. And we found that I think has helped you a little bit.
I'm wondering as you're saying this, like this 15-minute task thing has been so helpful. And the other day I did walk into the final frontier, not the forbidden planet. It's the final frontier.
So this is the room that our mother's going to be staying in about a month or a little less than, I guess. And there's a bunch of stuff in it, right? So it's not quite ready for her.
Yeah. And so we've been trying to do little by little, 15 minutes here and there. I did actually walk in there on my own and like just said, hey, can I walk in? And then I walked in and I looked and I said, nope. And then I walked back out. But I walked in.
Good. That's amazing. Good job.
But what I'm also thinking, though, is that as I shake my finger at you for some reason, what I'm wondering is, okay, Alcina, my PT, who we love, she was telling me about how as I start like trying to go for a walk every day, that like I will get endorphins usually after about the 7-minute mark. And that no matter what you do, it's like you kind of like around 7 minutes, that's when your body starts producing those. And I was like, okay. And they apparently are real. I've felt them now. So I'm agreeing with her that she's probably right as I roll my eyes very heavily at her. But so I think like, I wonder if there's something with like tasks where, sorry, I had to finish the story. So she says 7 minutes. If you hit 7 minutes and you're still exhausted, you should turn around and go back and be okay with the fact that you need to turn around and just stop because your body is telling you that you're too exhausted to have endorphins. Like you're just too tired. So you're going to hurt yourself if you're not producing endorphins at that point. Okay. So I'm wondering if there is some similarity to this with like tasks where it's like, okay, we're going to do it for 7 minutes. And if it's still so emotionally taxing after 7 minutes, or maybe it's 5 minutes, I don't know how long we're going to say, but like, if it's so still emotionally taxing, we're just going to stop and we're just going to let your brain feel what it's like for it to just be okay and not continue on.
Interesting. Yeah. I'm curious about that. That would be interesting for us to try out.
Something to consider like while we're doing this. Yeah.
Yeah. Because once you get totally emotionally spent, then you're often spent for the whole day, which is
sometimes
big thing,
longer.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes
like it depends because we talk about the energy sucking, like that's a real thing.
Absolutely. I'm so curious. We've talked about executive functioning before, but it's like every time we talk about it, I learn a little something else about how you experience it. And it's interesting to me because I don't have answers to it. That's why we always say we're not experts. We're just sisters because, the things we know though, for sure are that you having, your housekeeper come in is really important.
Yeah.
Right. We know for sure that having these little chunks of time, however much they might be, have been helpful. And I think that getting sleep now matters. It's just doing it is hard. Like getting consistent on it is hard. You do think about protein more now than you've ever done before, which does help your brain significantly. So I think there are I feel like, I always liken it to like your puzzles, right? That it's like these little pieces of the puzzle of figuring out your brain. And sometimes you have to be reminded of it by external things, but that we now know some of these pieces, I think make you so much more, you're able to function at a higher level than you've ever been able to before, I think.
Yeah.
Would you
I would
agree?
say for sure. Yeah. And I think one of the things that I'm remembering that was
consistently anyway.
Yeah. The fact I've almost got probably half to maybe 2/3 of our children's book finished, the drawings.
I love it.
That's because I've been able to be consistent with it. And what I realize is that a lot of that is because I don't have a million projects that are undone, or that are half done.
You let go of those.
One of that was the hardest thing of my life. is to get rid of all the projects. Cause like I've just, you know, it's like there's just, well, I could do this and I could do that. And like I get all these dopamine hits because I'm like, I could turn this silverware into a chandelier and I could do, you know, it's like whatever the thing is. And just to like get rid of it. And it's so like right now, like I have all that stuff in my carport because like, you know, Brian was saying, well, why don't we sell it? And I'm like, I know myself. And I told him like, I know myself. If we sell it, like if I don't just put it on the road, I will not get rid of it. And sure enough, like I ain't getting, it's not there. Gone. It's all there. And like, yes, the money would be great right now, but honestly, like the money, like I would much rather like scrape and skimp and like that money's already been spent. And like, I'd rather like just, you know, go. And I know that not everyone can be in this situation. So I'm trying to be mindful of that as well. But like, it's like at this point, I don't have, like, I just need to get it out of my life. And it's not going to help me move forward and actually physically work and like do the things that make me money. So, you know, it's like just honoring myself and like not beating myself up for the fact that like I should be, you know, turning this into a little bit of cash. And it's like, yeah, but like the amount of time and effort you'll have to actually do that for. And then nobody wants to buy it for the amount that you think it's worth. So it's like, it's a lot of time and energy and a lot of executive functioning.
And a lot of task management. So, right, you have to be very careful about what tasks you decide you're going to pick to manage. And I think like for that, it's like that boundary also of saying, that's a great idea. And also I'm not going to do it. That's a theoretically lovely idea. And unless you are the one, Brian, that wants to do that, then that's not going to happen. Right. So it's,
and I did say that. And then I was like, okay, I'll put it off to the side. I think it was like one of those things where it's like, okay, I'll just put it off to the side. And then it's like, yeah, it's not going to happen. I should just put it out on the road. Just put it on the side of the road. There's so many military families in my neighborhood that like would probably be very grateful and need things. Yeah, and just like put it out.
And also, I do think Brian has the best line ever, right?
Does he?
For that. Yeah, he always would say, "To the street."
I know, to the street, to the actual street,
to the street,
to the street.
I think he just needs sounds like a little bit of love today. And also maybe a reminder that you're going to take stuff to the street.
Fine.
To the streets.
You know, here's what I will say. I will ask anybody who's listening right now. Is there like, find one easy project that you have not completed and give it away or throw it away or donate
challenge. You're putting out a challenge.
I'm putting a challenge out, and I want you guys to tell me.
A radical acceptance challenge.
Yes. I want you guys to try and like find the thing that like, you know, is not as like, it's like you haven't touched it. Maybe either you haven't touched it in over a year or longer. If it's in a box that you have never unpacked, if it's, you know, something, and like, however, and the thing is like, the question I ask you is like, okay, if you're going to do this, something that's like low stakes, right? What's like one little small low stakes thing that's still fucking hard? What can you get rid of? And then the question then is like, what makes your brain feel easiest to get rid of it? Is it knowing that like you're donating it? Is it knowing that you're just dumping it? Is it, you know, finding a friend that you like, like what feels good for your brain to get rid of it? And just start there. And then like, if you're on our Discord page, and I'll link our Discord in this show notes.
Yeah. Let us know.
Tell me what it is. I'm going to put it up there. Like, tell me what it is that you threw away. I would love to know if you got rid of something.
Or I'm going to do the same thing. It could be digital too, right? It could be digital.
It's true. Yeah, it could be digital. I'm going to find something that I'm going to let go of. I don't know what it is yet, but I know I'm looking at like an entire wall of shit, and I will find a project that I'm going to let go of. I will do it too. Michelle, will you do it too?
Yeah.
Find something. I don't know. We have a whole week to figure it out, Michelle.
Yeah. I was trying to think like if I have any projects. I think my project has been my kid. I guess I can let go of him. He's graduating. No, I'm just kidding.
Do you know what I wanted to tell you, Michelle, that I hadn't thought about? I feel like I have more compassion now for you and like how hard it is for you to let go of Josh and like want to fix him. Because okay, I know I am not Brian's parent and I'm not trying to mother him, but there's a part of me that's like, oh, he's like a little baby ADHD boy. And he's just so new at it all. And he just got a diagnosis, you guys, if you haven't heard, he got a diagnosis just recently. And so he's learning techniques. And so there's a part of me that does feel like I'm an ADHD mother, of like, here, let me help you figure it out. And
you're definitely a mentor.
Yeah. And like, I found myself like wanting to talk to him because I'm worried that if we don't figure it out, it's going to get worse and worse and he's not going to want to think it through. He's not going to want to figure it out. And it's like, I realized that like, that is just not helpful for him. Like, cause he's very good at like helping me to understand, like, Megan, you're being too much right now. And I'm really not like, but like, it's so hard for me to like not want to fix it. Like he had terrible sleep last night. And my first thing is like, okay, how can we fix it? And he's like, and I think he just needs me to be like, oh baby, I love you. I'm so sorry. That's so hard.
Yeah.
And I can't, like my brain just like wants to fix it and fix it and fix it. And I was just like, man.
And well, because it impacts you too, right? I mean, it's it's not just about them. It's also like about you a bit too. And I think it was interesting actually, because I, for the very first time, did not get up his last day of school. And I know there were a lot of parents out there who I don't know if they can relate to what I'm saying, but the idea of last day of school of like your kid in high school is like this big deal, right? And so like all of my girlfriends that are in this moment are just like, I was crying and I was so upset and I was like, I overslept. I slept in. Well, yeah. And it's interesting. I mean, there's like a lot of things going on in my life right now beyond just him graduating, but like still I was like, no, it was relief. It was like, I laid it out all on the floor. Like I gave everything I could, and this is now no longer mine to hold. And it feels really hard to say that, and mean it. But I'm like, I'm not here to pick up any more pieces, right? Like this is not my job anymore in the same way. And so it's interesting because it's been so hard and so taxing. And I can't express enough how much that has nothing to do with how fun he is or how much I love him or how incredible he is. Like those two things are the same at the same time, but he has been difficult to raise and he has been difficult to understand. And I have constantly had to try to figure out and try to stay curious and try to stay ahead of whatever and help him navigate this thing that's coming. And it's exhausting. Yeah. It's absolutely can be exhausting at times. And so it doesn't mean, again, that it's not the best job or that I don't, all that stuff. But I think like part of what's hard about parenting a complex kid is that you're tired.
Yeah.
And you're worn out and you don't always have a support group because not every other parent is necessarily going through that. And so your things you're saying sound like either you're complaining or you're not giving your kid enough credit or, like I don't just tend to worry. I'm not a worrier. I don't worry about things very often. So the fact that I've been worried about him since he was born, I don't know. I only have one. Would I have been that same parent for every kid? Or is it because he's had specific issues that I see as like concerning? I don't know. So it's interesting to me to think, because like I'm not like that as a manager. I don't sit and like, I don't get like freaked out very often. Like there's moments I do, but it's usually warranted because it's like there's something I'm seeing, I'm observing. So it's like my identity as a parent is only that I am like this overbearing, worrywart of a human that is always like trying to make sure he's okay. And I'm like, well, is that actually me? Or is that just the circumstances with which I was presented as a parent?
Because you were seeing an issue, and so there was something legitimate to worry about. If you see your kid running into like the road, like that's a legitimate worry. Like
like it's like it's not just that it's invisible for the person going through it. It's an invisible thing for the parent that no one else sees. right? Like, so you're the crazy one because you're saying there's all these issues with your kid and that you're concerned about stuff. And, and I had, unfortunately, didn't have much, backup, like I was, I was in a parenting combination that I was the only parent who thought there was an issue. So it's, so there's a lot of feeling of being like, I don't know. I didn't really think about it till just like as we were talking about it, and as I was talking to this other parent, earlier this week, that their response to their kid's last day of school was one of like heartwarming, like, oh, isn't that so sweet? And it's all done and da 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 da, da, right? Like all of those things that I know I've seen in movies, and that seems right. That seems right. And mine was like, oh my God, I get to sleep in. Because he doesn't have anything due today. He's just going for fun because he wants to go see his friends. And I'm like, great, enjoy your life. Like, good. I don't need to make sure you had an egg and protein today because you don't have a test. I don't have to do any of these things that I normally would have done. So to me, like I literally every single day was like how to get protein into the child. Like to try to make sure he could like continue to think throughout the day. So anyway, it's interesting. It's interesting because it's a complex role for a parent too.
It is. And I think it's so beautiful that you are able to recognize it and be so vulnerable talking about it. Because I can only imagine that would be hard to look at and be like, oh, I'm a worrywart as a parent. But like also it makes sense because there was something to worry about. Like it wasn't just like unfounded. And, what a lovely gesture for him to like know that, he's always going to know he was loved, and he's going to know that he's got somebody on his side who's backing him up. And, I think it's like, it's so hard for parents because like the things that I see in media, and especially for women, it's supposed to be this beautiful natural thing, and you're supposed to be like this, leave it to beaver mom, and you're just like this, everything is supposed to become so easy, and it's like it's not. And it's so interesting that like we've been talking recently about how like men have trouble with their feelings, but the one thing they can talk about is how their kids are hard for them. Whereas like women can talk about their feelings till they're blue in the face, but they can't talk about how hard raising children is. Raising children, well, can be. They can't talk about the how difficult it is. And
I don't know that that's the same as much anymore, but it is. Yeah, it definitely can be for sure. Yeah, there is this cultural expectation that you're just going to handle it all, and that it wasn't the messy nightmare. I always say like to Josh, I'm like, and that it wasn't hard. That it wasn't hard. Yeah, like your grades look so good. That is not how that felt. Like I look at his grades and it's like A, B, A. I've said this before, A, B, A, B, but it wasn't that. Like the week it was like I would look at the report and it was like F and D, and then it was A and B and then D and F, and like it would go up and down in this like cyclical thing because he would, some weeks his brain, didn't have the chemicals it needed to get things done. Really when we bring it back to it, now I know that. And I think that's the part that the worrywart, if I go back and look and go like, oh, I was observing this and I was seeing it, but I didn't necessarily have all the tools of how to talk about it with him, nor did I have the tools to understand for myself what was the part that was okay to let him fail at, like to let him feel that consequence of, and what was the part that was good that I kind of like kept on him about, right? Because he needed an external force to get something going. But when you're somebody's external force, as I think you're finding with Brian, or kind of exploring with him, maybe is a better way to say it. And it's a different relationship as a spouse than it is as a mom. But that external, when you're the external force, the weight of that is quite heavy. And I was talking with another mom who does have a kid who's ADHD, and we've become very good friends. And I said, she's like, it's just, I'm the one. I'm always the one. And I'm like, yes. And you got to figure out which of those things matter and which don't, because this is a marathon. And it's not that he's not going to get better at it. Josh has gotten better over the years, and he's taken care of and taken responsibility for things. And sometimes that's hard as me as the parent to acknowledge. oh yeah, you are really good at this now. Like, this isn't something I need to keep worrying about. That is something I can take off my plate, at least for now. Right. But yeah, I think it's the marathon of parenting a complex kid is something you have to figure out. What things are you falling on your sword about and what are you not? And I think it's like, different for every single person, every single kid. And no one can tell you, your intuition is right. Whatever it is, your intuition is correct. You know your kid the best.
And I'm going to be really interested to see how parenting evolves with him as he's now going into college.
I know, me too.
What I can, like, I'm instinctually seeing that he's going to have these things where he messes up and he's going to come and probably talk to you. And I think you have like such great verbiage now that you didn't have before. And it's like being able to be like, hey, dude, that just was like it sounds like you had a bad ADHD day. Okay. What did you learn? Move on. It's like, or it's good if it's something that's really big, it's like, yeah, okay, we got to deal with this, and it's like,
maybe that's how it'll be. You can hope for me. I mean, I'm just saying, like, you got neural pathways, so do I. It's like you have stuff ingrained in your head. It is very difficult to make those changes as a parent. And, I'm finding myself, like, even just now, I went and, we're trying to negotiate something that he wants to have happen. And I was like, okay. And I used the words I had just read about, which were like, don't catastrophize this. Like, don't catastrophize this thing that you think is going to be really hard for them, because that doesn't help. Right.
Right.
And I think you're saying that about Brian. Like, don't catastrophize the fact that he had one night of bad sleep. Like, just, like, understand but boy, making space for that. And just letting it go and just opening yourself up and being like, okay, like, let's reset. I know I got all wacky about this, but now I need to come back and repair with you. And it's daily and it's exhausting.
It is,
and
exhausting.
It's worth it. It's worth it, but it's very tiring and you don't do it right. And usually I start off wrong. I mean, I honestly can say that. I just said that to our mom. I was like, oh man, I started off wrong again. You know what I mean? And like, I know I did.
Yeah.
And yet I didn't know any other way to start it at that time.
But like,
right.
Here's the thing. It's like, I always feel like I start off wrong. And like to have had, like, if mom had come to me when we were younger or at any point and be like had modeled like, hey, I started off wrong and I got to own up to that. I think, gosh, that would have been a massive help to me.
Well, the greatest thing about anybody who's ADHD is that when you walk up and say that, they're like, that's fine. I start off wrong all the time.
Yes, exactly. But no, you feel
he's very
kinship.
Forgiving. He's very
the thing is, you feel a kinship though. And I think that's like, I mean, as like, it's, but like, I just think like being able to see, this is why I keep saying like, I'm going to be very open 44-year-old ADHD. Cause like I wanted the model that I didn't have of someone saying, hey, I screwed up and here's how I screwed up, but also here's where we're going. And like, and like showing me what it looks like to be an adult who didn't do everything correctly, but still knows how to like have relationships. And like, that's the part that I don't think, our mother is great at so many things, but like, that's the part that like was a challenge, was like actually having communication, because that was not something that they did in that generation. It's like, it's totally, it's understandable, but like, it also was challenging. And so I'm interested to see like how you're going to mess up. I'm going to mess up. Like, I messed up, with him too. And so it's like, but it's kind of fun. Like now I can be like, hey, can I?
Of the perfectionism though, right? And the shoulds and the understanding. And I think that's the part that has been helpful when we talk about this. And then I go back and go, okay, well, here's why this was the way it was. And here's what I was feeling. And this is, and I'm learning to be more vulnerable in general. And that's helpful because, obviously, bulldozing your way through it isn't really the answer either. Yeah. Like, cause you're not going to fix it. You're not going to change them. And the reality is this chapter helped me to kind of understand, like, cause it's chemical. Yeah. There's a chemical depletedness or deficiency or whatever, right? Like we want to say, that doesn't allow for these things to happen. And I think I would imagine, and from your standpoint, you're seeing a mirror of what you have experienced all these years. And that must be brutal, because you're like, I'm looking at this and I'm seeing, and this is hard for you and it's still hard for me. So that's a whole other level. So I think people who partner with other people who are ADHD, it's like seeing it so vividly.
Yeah. And you've always said to me, Michelle, it is tough. Like I'm going to have to go give him a hug and say that, because like it is so hard. And like you've always told me that like when I finally figure something out, it's like a light switch goes off. And I'm going to guess that it's probably whatever chemical reaction's finally happening in my brain. And it's like, boom, I go do it. And, but it takes a while to get there. And like, I think that's the part that's like really hard to remember, is like, I can do it. It's just going to take a while. It's just the same thing with like, you know, I've gotten so much better with like my lower body in physical therapy. And now I'm starting my upper body, and I feel like I'm back to being a baby again. And I am, because I haven't done the things yet. And so it's like, I find myself like having to remind myself like, hey, I have done really well with my lower body, and it's just going to take time. And so I have to keep telling myself that. And if I could do that also, I think for my ADHD, and say, okay, I like these difficulties I'm having, or like this laziness I feel, or whatever, if like I can remember, hey, I've done X, Y, and Z, I will get there. It's just going to take time.
Yeah. And I don't have control over it.
When it I can't just be like, and now I have this figured out. Like I can't just, you know, it's like I might have the idea figured out in my head, but like making the connection, that light switch finally flips on. Like when Brian finally, like, you know, whenever he's got all the information, he has all the research, he knows what to do, but it's like whenever his brain is finally going to be like, I know what I got to do now to like really work on sleep. That's up to him. That's not, it's not up to me. I can't do anything about that. And you're right. It is so hard to look at it and be like, I'm watching myself. I'm watching like, you know, the last 15 years struggling to sleep. And I was like, oh, it's just so hard. And I want to spare him from all of that. And I know it's like, you know, there's only so much you can do. I can tell him I want to spare him for that, but there's only so much you can do.
And I think as a parent, it is that times like
a million. Yeah.
I don't know. It's just because I think you are biologically set from the beginning that you're supposed to keep this little human alive. And so when you start to like link, oh, this is connected to their safety, or this is connected to them being able to become a functioning adult, you know, you know, comes across, I think, sort of as hyperbolic or something, right? That you're over exaggerating everything, but there's that real feeling that's in there. And it's also like, okay, how do you not catastrophize this? Like, is this really, you know, what level is this? Is everything going to a 10? And, you know, that's the piece that for me also, I have to always remember is like, okay, this is just, okay, slow down, you know, slow down and feel it, but also understand there's okay.
Also part of me that like, I just wonder too, like in my mind, like the worst case scenario, like if you take it to the catastrophic event, that's usually death by suicide. And the one thing I do know is that like, there are points in like, there is sometimes like where there's nothing that anyone could have done, which is like the hard part. And like, I feel like, you know, when Brian started getting back from, he used to be a veteran, he was a veteran, he went on deployments for those of you who don't know. And like when he started coming back from those deployments and like started showing signs of PTSD, and like I knew like what the next level was, like the next level could have been death by suicide. And I think that's the part where like, I know that I'm not, it's not my job to make sure that he stays alive, like in the same way as like a child, like you're not, you know, he's a kid, right? But I also know like I struggle with that because like, you know, now it's like, okay, I needed to take care of him while he was deployed and like while he was in the military. And now that he's out of the military, it's like, he's graduating too. It's like, okay, I don't have to like be quite as vigilant anymore. And it's like, how do I let go of that? And it's so, It's so
hard to separate, right? It's so hard to separate. Yeah. Agreed. Well, I don't have any answers yet, but I do think allowing yourself to feel it is part of it.
Yeah.
And having it be a little messy and not look exactly the way you want it to. And sometimes you say things or do things that you got to go repair. And that's the best we can do, I think.
I got to go repair after this.
Okay. You're going to go repair. Me too.
Yeah.
Okay.
I love you, Michelle.
I love you too. Bye.
Okay. Bye.